Hello, welcome to my new channel. On this channel, I will be uploading coaster and park reviews, park vlogs, rankings, news, and more. Red Fire is a very special ride to me, as it is my first major credit internationally, and it really surprised me. This Intamin Blitz coaster is located at ViaSea, around 1 hour outside of the center of Istanbul, Turkey. When I was visiting Turkey this summer, I went to two parks, Vialand, where Nefeskessen is, and ViaSea. Both of these parks were added to serve as an activity for the connected malls, interestingly. Although Google says ViaSea is only an hour away from the center of Istanbul, we opted to take their free shuttle, which took almost 2.5 hours. When we finally arrived at the park, we bought our tickets and were told that Red Fire was open. But once we actually got into the park, it was closed for rain, even though it was just a light drizzle. I got very nervous, but eventually the ride opened, and I even saw it roll back. I would recommend that if you are ever going to this park, make sure it isn't raining just in case. And if you want to get there quickly, take a taxi. Just make sure you don't get scammed by the driver. Now, let's get into the ride stats. Red Fire is actually a cloned ride of the more well-known iSpeed at Mirabilandia in Italy. Red Fire opened 6 years after the original in 2015. It stands at 180.3 feet tall, has a track length of 3,215.3 feet, and launches you from 0 to 68.3 miles per hour in 2.5 seconds. It is a very compact coaster as it keeps winding in many directions. Let's go through the layout more in detail now. After being dispatched, you roll out of the station and prepare for the intense 68-mile-an-hour launch. Immediately following the launch is a massive 180-foot tall top hat, which has some good positives entering it. On the way down, you are thrown out of your seat and then slammed back down at the bottom, where you pull some good G's yet again. After this, there's a great ejector airtime hill, which is followed immediately by a very whippy turn, into a long turn with sustained intensity. After an incredible twisted airtime hill, you go through a surprisingly whippy corkscrew, followed by a sort of inclined half loop. This goes into yet another turn with amazing sustained positives. After a hang time-filled heartline roll, you hit the mid-course brake run. This is when the ride starts to slow down, as you make a left turn into a small floater hill, and then finally turn back into the station. For the most part, this ride is non-stop airtime, positives, whippiness, and inversions. As I want to get the bad out of the way, I only noticed one drawback to the coaster: the section after and including the mid-course brake run. I don't see the point in the brake run at all, as it only runs 2 trains max, which I don't think happens very often anyway. It was trimming, I'd say, around half the time, but that isn't the problem. If these brakes were simply replaced by an element, then the ride would feel longer, as after this pretty much nothing happens. There's a small hill with minimal airtime, but if there were no trims, then it would be stronger, and there could be another element. That is my only nitpick with this ride. Now let's get into the positives of this coaster. There are so many. My favorite element is probably the Stengel dive whippy turn after the first large airtime hill. It's really intense. Some of the other great elements include a snappy launch, twisted airtime hill, inversions, and intense turns. This coaster is equipped with the new Gen Intamin lap bars, and I believe that this majorly affects the ride. On iSpeed, for instance, I have heard that the hard over-the-shoulder restraints ruin part of the ride. This is definitely not a problem on Red Fire. This coaster has great length to it, although I wish it was a bit longer because it's just so good. In my opinion, this coaster is very good in all areas. It has a launch, a vertical drop, tons of airtime, whippiness, and intensity. It's smooth, but not overly smooth, which I like, because you can feel the coaster. It feels pretty fast, and your body is very exposed because of the restraints. Now onto the final score. My final score for Red Fire is 9.5 out of 10. The half a point is taken off because of how the brake run takes away momentum and is unnecessary. This makes the ride feel a bit shorter than it should be. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed.